Organic, true urban breakbeat culture.
This is Consequence representing Exit Records. Welcome to the studio. Early on, I kind of started listening to people like Clute and like early Clute, Crust. Crust was probably my original, like what really brought me into a sound of drum and bass that wasn't kind of rave music as such. It was really almost more of a film style thing, like progression, like just the music would progress and build in a way that was more of a film soundtrack than a dance floor piece. And from there I just kind of was hooked on music that creates more of a feeling and more of a mood than necessarily being something that was a DJ tool or a drum and bass club anthem. So further down the line, I met D-Bridge, where he basically showed me the way, I guess. I mean, influentially, he was a big part of my life well before I'd even met him. Like I was DJing his music religiously and was a big fan. So when we managed to link up and start kind of working together with Exit, it again gave me the boost to start trying new things. And as I said, like it took a while for me to kind of get comfortable to be able to experiment. And Exit Records is kind of like now for me a place where I can show my past influences but bring them through with kind of like my current situation. D-Bridge came to Melbourne for a tour, and we kind of started talking about toys and equipment and what we're into. And I kind of had a feeling that, you know, we might be able to work on something together, because we had a similar approach and idea to what we liked. And yeah, he left Melbourne. A few weeks later I sent him some tunes where he kind of straight away gave me a call one night and said he wanted to sign a tune. And that tune was Fog, I think, from Live For Never. And from there, excuse me, Darren basically said he wanted me to do an album for him, and I was really quite excited, obviously, as you would be when, after all these years, finally someone was kind of saying that they thought my stuff was acceptable, which was nice. And yeah, I mean, at that time, that was when the Autonomic podcast was just starting, and this was kind of like, I guess, a turning point within the drum and bass scene where people could kind of try something else. You know, the more high energy dance floor stuff was kind of being brought down a little bit and turned into something that's more relevant to a person's emotions, you could say. And from there I kind of just went with that philosophy that anything you did, you just had to do for yourself instead of for someone else. Even though it's all for someone else, it doesn't really make any sense. When you work on an album, the album needs to have a narrative through it. It needs to have a voice, like a tone that sets the mood throughout the whole thing. And that doesn't necessarily mean that every tune needs to be the same, or even have the same sounds at all. Like, I hear a lot of albums that are clearly a number of tunes made with the same drums, the same synths, the same vocal samples or vocalist or whatever, and this can work, but at the same time think finding the fine touch between having a similarity in the tunes but them being completely different is really important, for me at least. For me, an album needs to play like a movie, or like reading a book, maybe you could say. I like the idea of, you know, like each track is turning a page of a book where you kind of get taken somewhere else, you know, taken down a little pathway. And it's kind of important to get lost in it a little bit yourself when you do it, because I think that's when you kind of you get more personal satisfaction out of it, or I do. When I started the concept of Testering, the idea behind it was to kind of take the feelings from your subconscious and your dreams. And I know it sounds quite obvious and cheesy and maybe overused, but when I dream or when I'm about to fall asleep, I find a lot of ideas. And that's where I came up with Consequences. I fell asleep and then woke up and the word came to me, and I think a lot of ideas come to my mind when I'm either asleep or about to be asleep or just waking up. So anyway, this kind of ideology came to me, and I thought Testering is going to be my album. So I started writing down notes, like when I'd wake up in the morning, about what I've been thinking about whilst asleep. And that was kind of the concept for this album. And I think, in a way, that sounds a little bit cliche, but everyone's own thought pattern obviously is different from each other. And mine kind of just felt like it would translate into music somehow. So on Testering, I've decided that I wanted to do some pieces that were just completely atmospheric in a way, soundscape pieces. And I also wanted to experiment with other genres, tempos maybe you might say. But most of those ended up in scratch. I mainly used my One.Seventy pieces, my drum and bass tempo pieces for the album, apart from the soundscapes. There's one tune, it's called Slant, that's more of a dubstep tempo, but I wouldn't call it dubstep. I think a dubstep DJ would ever play it, especially these days. Maybe I don't know. I mean, a lot of people, I've seen my music on websites and on, you know, places where you buy music, and it's classified as dubstep or electronica. And I get a little bit, I don't know, I think, I mean, for me, drum and bass is something that has drums and bass, and is at a tempo that is considered drum and bass, whether it's between 165 and 175, give or take. For me, that's all it is. It doesn't need to have a breakbeat. It doesn't need to have a big mid riff, or, you know. I honestly believe that a drum and bass can be a hi-hat and a subline, and that's it for the whole tune. Just and that's it. The album's got 12 track listed pieces on it. Out of those, there's, I think, 2 pieces that don't have any drums in them at all. So obviously, that's not drum and bass. Woo! Testering will be coming out December 19th. The sampler's out December 11th, 12-inch sampler. The album will be on 3-piece vinyl and CD, and from all your local digital websites. True urban breakbeat culture, organic.
Organic. True urban breakbeat culture.